Ajmahari here. Someone commented on the channel a little while ago, I'm not sure when, and they said, turn on your ring light, goofball. No, they didn't say that. Oh, it's so bright. Anyway, they said, if you tell a person with borderline personality disorder that they are worth it, do they still need therapy? I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at the commenter. It's a very, I guess, interesting question that suggests perhaps this person has a lot of naivete about their experience with somebody with BPD. Because the answer, if you tell a person with BPD that they are worth it, do they still need therapy? Yeah. If you tell them that they're worth it, or worth what? You tell them they're worth loving. If you tell them how much you love them because they're a very worthy person, because even people with BPD do have good traits. They have often intelligence, and they're often creative, and they often, some of them have jobs, lots of them have jobs, they're not all the same. But telling somebody, even a codependent, telling a codependent, if I said to you just right now, even just like, or somebody in your life, more important, but like, if I say, you have codependency, you don't know how to break a trauma bond with a person with BPD, but you know, you're really worth it. How does that feel? What did you think about that? Because I probably can tell you one thing, you might be in a place where that could resonate with you. You might be in a place where you felt something there, but I can guarantee you, I'll say it, you as a codependent trapped in a fantasy, betrayal, and or trauma bond with a person with BPD, you're worth so much more. You need to get into a healing recovery journey, and you deserve, because you're so worth it, you deserve to heal and to learn how to let go of this person and to learn how to live the rest of your life relating differently, watching out for red flags, taking better care of yourself. Because you, as a codependent, and I'm talking to each and every one of you looking back at me right now, you are so worth it. And I mean that, by the way, because you are worth it. How does that hit you? What do you feel? Do you automatically go to, yeah, of course I am. Of course I'm worth it. Yeah. Or if you go there, or when you hear me say to you, or you whatever, watch me say it to you here, you are so worth it. You are so worth getting into therapy and help on recovery and healing journey so you can stop hurting the way that you're hurting, because you matter way more than that. You're so worth it. And I mean every one of those words, by the way. But I want you to just experience, what do you rewind and just hear it again. And what do you actually feel? Ask yourself. Be mindful. Pay attention. Just focus on what I just said, because you're so worth it. And can one of you honestly tell me, unless you're one of those people still watching these videos, even though you've done a lot of work and you have created a lot of change in your life, and then I wonder, why are people still watching? You know? So there might still be something there. But when I said how you're so worth it and you matter and this is why you need to do this and the healing and you deserve it, was that just all positive for you? Or was it maybe like, if you thought, yeah, of course I'm worth it, I know that, but if you can feel it too. I know from working with clients for almost 35 years now, that many clients will, to that, and I've asserted many things to many clients about how they have amazing qualities and what I see in them when they're feeling broken and lost and not even knowing themselves, like lost to self right now. And one of the reactions that I see in a lot of clients, or clients will freely, they're aware of and they will tell me about, is, well, I hear you, but now I just feel like so much shame. And they'll often, if they'll look away from the camera, their head will go down or something. I just want you, and leave a comment if you can, you know, like if you do this little exercise here. When I was saying how worth it you are, and rewind back to what I said, how did you really feel? And why am I taking so long on this point? To build to this next point, which is, obviously I don't know how you feel, because right now I'm looking into a camera, sitting in front of a microphone, But you're going to see this and you're going to hear this. And I want you to rewind and have that experience and ask yourself, what did I just feel? Because what I can tell you, what I absolutely know, some people may hear that, may believe that about themselves to varying degrees. But many other people with codependency, and if you're still, whether you're still in the relationship or not, or trying to make it work, or you're not, or you're blocked, but you're in agony and you're lost from yourself, and this codependency is really painful, and what happened with the person with BPD and the relationship breakup, it's horrible, then my saying how worth it you are, which I really mean, no matter what you experienced, if you did rewind and listen to that, what did it change for you just now in these minutes that just went by? Do you feel any different? Do you feel like, oh, well, now it's all okay. Now I get it. Sure, okay. Yeah, I can break up with the borderline. Not a problem. I don't want him back. I don't want him or her back anymore. I'm worth it. So, yeah, I don't need help. I don't need to heal anything. I'm worth it. So now my whole life has changed. That can't possibly be true, right? So that's what I'm trying to say back to. So to give you a feeling for, because people with codependency struggle with self-worth, struggle with like low self-worth to not having self-worth, low self-esteem to not having self-esteem, and maybe you have some self-esteem in your work field or other areas of your life, but maybe not in relationships. This person said, if you tell the person with BP they're worth it, do they still need therapy? That's why I just asked you, do you feel like you're worth it? Or I would ask any person with BPD if they're watching this, how worthy do you feel? It doesn't change anything is what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe hearing it many times for people with codependency, but for people with BPD, and I mean, not even that is going to create a big change process for you. Just going, well, AJ said through the lens here, through your screen, that I'm worthy and I really matter. Yeah, what changed for you in those moments? I mean, I hope you heard it. I hope if you don't believe it, that you want to know how to believe it, that you want to work on healing. I don't understand how somebody could be so, no offense to the commenter, naive as to think that you can just tell somebody with BPD that they're worth it and they'll be fine. Because you can't even do that with somebody with codependency or counterdependency or CPTSD or PTSD. You certainly can't do that for somebody or anything else. Struggles, challenges in life, mental health-wise. But you certainly can't tell a person with BPD that they're worth it and then they're not going to need therapy because it doesn't change anything at all. And people, I think some of you out there with codependency, people with codependency can sometimes hear that and can sometimes say, well, depending where you're at in all this, you could say, well, yeah, I know I have worth, or my self-worth is better, or my self-esteem. But there's still going to be a but in that sentence. But I'm still doing this, or I still want her back, or him back, or I'm still not sure about, or I don't know how I got with this person. Like, not that these are the exact sentences that will occur to you. So long story short, obviously, no. If you tell somebody with BPD that they're worth it, it's not going to help, it's not going to change them, it doesn't fix anything. And here's the other thing. I hesitate to say it this way, so I won't be really gentle. People with BPD, or suspected BPD in the patterns of, and in all that relational difficulty and impossibility, are they really worth it? Now, as human beings, they have worth. And as human beings, I wish more people out there who's been hurt by somebody with BPD wouldn't think, well, they did this to me and they did that to understand, you really hurt, etc. So therefore, they're not only a borderline, they're a histrionic, they're a narcissist, they're a psychopath, they're, I don't know, everything under the sun. Because I'm talking from a humanistic perspective, that these people who wound you so badly with BPD, and even maybe some with NPD because they're not all the same or the same severity, they have worth as human beings? They do, in my opinion. But are they worth it? Nope. Because they're not able to enter into an adult, healthy, mature, age-appropriate, congruent, consistent with object constancy relating or relationship. So they have inherent worth as human beings. Please don't hear me wrong. But they're not worth being in relationships with. So what do you think of that? Because actually, when I started this video, I had no idea where I was going. So as I just said that, I was thinking, because I think there's a lot to think about there. And for me, when I suggested that just now, because I do a lot of these videos off the top of my head. I don't script, I don't pre-plan. I just turn on the recording and I'll look at and then wherever I go. So I just surprised myself a little with that because I want to be really gentle, because I'm not saying that people with BPD don't have the worthiness of, I think, base respect. But when you've been hurt by them, however you feel is however you feel. But base respect that they are human, which some people can't muster that for them at all. Many people can't, because they think that they have to be a Jezebel spirit or possessed or something, which isn't the case. But lots of, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I would just say to you on top of that, how's that helping you? Because it's not. But it might be helping your anger or give you a place to put anger. And, that's one of the stages in trying to work through what just happened and hopefully get yourself into therapy. And I'm out here to work with you if you resonate with me to start healing, recovering, and you need to know why you got there. But so to just telling a person with BPD they have worth, they do. They don't know that, though. They won't trust what you say. They won't know where to put it. They have no self to pilot within, and they won't trust it. So if you continue to tell a person with BPD how worthy they are, how much you love them, how much they need to be able to feel higher self-esteem because they deserve it, all of which is true, it's probably when they're going to split you to devaluation harder than maybe a lot of other things you could try to give or say to a borderline that are positive and loving and caring. Because they can't take in the positive, the loving, and the caring. Sometimes they do a little bit here and there, right? But they can't be consistent with that in a relationship. They're going to get triggered to splitting to you to devaluation because they don't even know who they are. And their child ego state fragmented off almost completely by or before the age of 2 with emotional arrested development. And that means the lost self inside of them that is almost complete. It isn't totally complete, but as far as their conscious awareness and ability to relate versus misconceptions, all or nothing black and white thinking that's very intense and very common, and other issues that really are at the core of BPD, you telling them that they have worth is going to, maybe somebody could hear that with BPD untreated and have a moment and it was nice, but most will push back because it goes against their own, quote, self-hatred, their own really base horrible feelings about themselves, which were supplanted into them or they were interjected by them in childhood when they often had cluster B parents. I know I did. And what I learned from my parents, I didn't learn anything from my parents. My mother, just as a reminder, was BPD traits or BPD, NPD, maybe the comorbidity there, but more so a covert narcissist, but not a fragile, vulnerable one, ladies and gentlemen. No, she wasn't aware of feelings. Never mind mine, she wasn't aware of hers. So anyway, what I'm trying to say, and my father was a malignant narcissist, the psychopathic dark triad or tetrad, I'm not sure which, the therapist mentioned it years ago, and they were alcoholics. So, like being in a relationship with any cluster B, as I had no choice, I was born into, and there they were, I would just say that they have some meaning and worthiness as a human being, but not that I was going to derive that out of my parents' quote, relational styles of me. They don't like themselves. They don't know themselves, but they really don't like themselves. So what I was really saying was how much I interjected from my own parents, that it was like, I don't know, it was like I was a kid, and when you're a kid, and then it affects you more as a teen, and then it changes, but like it doesn't go away. You need therapy to heal these wounds. the thing is, whether it's BPD or it's codependency or CPTSD or whatever, and by the way, BPD and CPTSD, like starting to be said all out there all over the place, they are not interchangeable at all, okay? They're not the same thing. These things that have overlaps are not the same. So what I was just saying is I interjected from my parents that I totally didn't matter, that I was always wrong, that I was guilty and the person that caused anything that bothered them, hurt them, or pissed them off. What else did I learn? If I think about, like, I didn't really learn, but I was interjecting that I wasn't worth anything. I wasn't valued by them. I wasn't loved by them. I mean, I came to work all that out, right? When I went to therapy, I started at 15 and, whatever. But the thing is, so just telling somebody they have worth doesn't change anything. And then the other thing I added to this video that I didn't know I was going to say is, and these people really aren't don't have that worth to relate to be in a relationship with. They're not relationship worthy. And I would say that about my parents too. Were my parents worthy of having children? Were my parents worthy of being parents? No, they weren't. And many other people's parents, BPD, NPD, etc., not worthy of being parents. Don't know how to do it. Can't relate well enough. Can't get out of lost self, false self, out of all the woundedness and how that gets shot out at who's ever closest, including babies, infants, toddlers, kids, teens. And if you're still hanging around with a dysfunctional cluster B parent or still pursuing perhaps something you never got from your childhood, and you're in your adulthood, whether you're in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s or your 50s or your 60s or your 70s or your 80s, I've had clients of all those different ages who are still seeking from a cluster B parent what they didn't get, because they just swear up and down to me all the time that they just can't go no contact. And I understand that's exactly how they feel, but then what's underneath that, right? So again, telling a person with BPD that they're worth it, actually, in terms of relationship worthiness, no, they're not. They don't have any or much to put in that bucket called relationship, where you have to make deposits, you have to add water to the bucket, and you're going to take water from the bucket, each of you. Borderline not going to do that. You're going to be adding water. They're going to be draining it faster than you could ever get a drink from that bucket, let alone be loved. Do you see how it's your inherent feelings of not being worth or worthy of a healthy relationship that is also a component, maybe not consciously, keeping you stuck in recycling with somebody with BPD, or sitting in that tragic, horribly painful, almost not a place you can stand being, ruminating, wanting them back, but maybe they're off with the next person and they blocked you everywhere, and or they're a person with BPD that isn't ever going to hoover you, because not all people with BPD hoover. And so maybe you've got all your avenues of reverse hoover are blocked. Painful, painful stuff. But so let me just try to turn it this way. Telling somebody they have worth doesn't change anything. Because just because I say, like when I said that to you, rewind again, do it again. What did it change for you? It will change absolutely nothing, because words can't create deep emotional healing of deep emotional wounds, whether it's codependency, CPTSD and codependency, PTSD from the relationship, or people with BPD and what they've been through, and how everything they've been through and interjected in. And you interject things from your parents too as a child, even if, like every kid does, whether they're cluster B parents or not. And so we can often, I've had many clients, by the way, who haven't had a cluster B parent, and we have to do that real search and seek for, well, how could I get codependency if all this was good in my family? And we have to keep digging deeper until we will come to, at minimum, a realization that there was something that hurt, that there was something that maybe was an unmet need. But why does that become important to find? And how can that be so affect you so much? It's not always because it was trauma or was horrible or it was change your life from that moment forward. It's often just, it changes how you feel about yourself and you're not aware of it. Because you can interject and take on from a parent from all kinds of different situations. It don't have to be big deal trauma that you might feel unworthy, that you might not feel seen or heard, or not seen or heard enough. And don't forget that every human being born, every child born, in certain stages of development, early childhood development, needs, usually it's mom doing it, but it could be a dad or a parent and then both parents. But whichever parent is doing most of the caretaking for a young child. One might be working, one might, doesn't matter if it's two men raising a child, two women raising a child, a man and a woman raising a child, or a single parent. You know what I'm saying? But what children require, what we all needed from our parents. And I know I didn't get it. How about you? Even if you're codependency and you never had any BP traits like I did and I healed from. Even you could have interjected something, and you might not be consciously aware of it right now, to where you just have shame. You have some toxic shame. And maybe when you get really close to somebody, or you're loving somebody, or somebody turns and blames you for something, and it's imprinting on you somewhere inside where it's been imprinted before, but it's not in your conscious awareness. And the next thing you know, you're really feeling a lot of shame, but maybe you don't really feel that shame long because you have many different ways of avoiding yourself. So then you bear down more on what the borderline did if you can't talk to them, right? Or you talk to them if you can, because you want to get away from what you're feeling that can't be changed by my just saying how worthy you are and how much you matter and how much worth you have that you deserve, to learn how to break the trauma bond, the fantasy bond, the betrayal bond, and that you're not going to be able to do that on your own. I certainly didn't do it on my own. Nobody really does it on their own. And the other message in this video I'll just wrap with is, I'm surprised I said it, but it came up, and I think it's real and authentic. I know it's real and authentic. That people with BPD are not worth it in relationships. Untreated, or until unless really amazingly treated and changed and healthier. They are not relationship worthy. So why would anybody, well, I know all the reasons, many reasons, but what does a codependent expect to get, or an ex, or an on and off person with a borderline? What do you really expect to accomplish? Why would you tell the borderline how worthy they are? Because A, it's not the truth. Yes, human worth, but not relationship worthy. You want them so desperately to be relationship worthy, and they're not. Doesn't mean they don't have worth as a human being. Please don't confuse those two things. But they are not capable or relationship worthy. And then I would ask you to think about, it's not to the same extent, but how relationship worthy are you if you're still really significantly codependent? Because there's something about your worth that you can't bring to the table. And on the person with BPD side, they don't even understand worth. Oh yeah, they have all the overcompensatory defenses of looking like they're, there's grandiosity in BPD too. And they'll be like, well, but you, and they'll give you this I'm so much better than you thing sometimes. But it's overcompensatory defensive stuff to where they're trying to put you in a one-down position, usually unconsciously, so they can just feel better. But it never makes them feel better. This stuff doesn't work. So yeah, no, you can't tell a person with BPD they're worth it and then they don't need therapy. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything, me saying it to you right now if you're watching as a codependent. I say, you're really worthy because you really are. And you deserve so much and you matter. And you need to free yourself from this for you because you need to love you more. You might hear it. You might react to it. You might be like, yeah, she's right. Or you might be like, huh. And you might repel it, but you're not going to change just because I said it. I can promise you that. So leave a comment. Let me know what you think of that. What do you think of the fact that borderlines just aren't relationship worthy, untreated, and until unless a lot of significance. And don't forget, I'm going to have probably a podcast coming soon. I don't think it'll be up before these videos on How come you can't just, somebody asked a question on my channel, how come you can't just re-hook up with the borderline after 10 years if they've had therapy and they're better now? Yeah, I'm going to answer that puppy too, okay? Because it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't work. And anyway, with that in mind, to what end are you trying to hang into this? Why are you hanging on with your fingernails? Why won't you get into a healing recovery journey? I'm not here to work with you. If I resonate with you, why won't you give yourself that action step? Take that, put some focus on you and do that for you right now if you haven't. Or are you working with somebody who's not helping you at all, but like you're just like, but they're hearing me and it's okay? Because you're settling for something like you did in a borderline relationship with a borderline or a narcissist, whatever, in cluster B. You're settling for something that isn't really what you need, and you deserve more. It's kind of a real circle that people go around in. People with BPD in bigger and deeper and more long-term ways, and people with codependency as well in a different way. Just know that telling a person with BPD that they have worth is likely to get you devalued in a heartbeat. They're not going to hear it. They're not going to accept it. And as I've said, telling anybody who doesn't know their own self-worth and love themselves and have a healthy relationship to and with self that they're worth it or worthy or that they matter, it doesn't change anything. Take care.